James Gunn's Superman. What to say? An interesting movie. A very interesting movie. I liked it. Actually, I like it the more I think about it. But there's this conflicted feeling I've been having about some of the aspects of it. Not in terms of the story or the characters, just some stuff like in regards to its execution, like the filmmaking. There were some of those exposition lines that felt very on the nose, like they were there just for the audience. You know what I'm talking about? There was a scene toward the beginning where Lex Luthor's employees were talking about how genius he is or something. One character is like, how does Lex Luthor know all this stuff about Superman? And then the other character is like, well, Lex Luthor has a genius level intellect and has been thoroughly studying Superman's moves for 20 minutes. That's information you would think those characters would already know in that situation. And it's like, why are you guys talking about this right now? But they just said it, to get the audience the information. But at the same time, the way the dialogue was going, I was getting this almost retro vibe to the way they spoke. Like they were saying lines from like a 1940s Superman comic, or from that, I think it was like 1930s Superman animated cartoon. So I'm almost wondering if it was intentional on the part of James Gunn to have some of that cadence or cheesiness to some of this dialogue. I'm also conflicted on how the movie looked, which is weird. It has this wide-angled lens look to it. Like, how if you take a photo, you zoom all the way out and then put the camera close to the subject and then take a picture. It gets that weird warped look, almost like a fishbowl effect. I think I got used to it as the movie was going on, but I'm still not sure if I liked that or not. See, this is what I mean. I'm like conflicted. I don't know if I liked that look or didn't like it. I'm just like on the fence and I can't pick which side I'm on. It's weird too because that wide-angled lens look actually reminded me of Yorgos Lanthimos' films. That movie, Killing of a Sacred Deer with Will Ferrell. And I think Poor Things had that wide-angle lens look too. But I haven't seen it. And I love the way his movies look. I guess what I'm saying is Yorgos Lanthimos should direct Superman 2, where Superman gets addicted to snorting lines of kryptonite, and Brainiac and Lex Luthor gotta stage an intervention. Superman's on drugs and he's like, where's my money, bitch? Also, the special effects I thought looked really good most of the time. Some of the special effects kind of look like a video game. I'm thinking of how the Fortress of Solitaire looked, and especially the robots he had. Those robots looked real. Also, Crypto, the dog, looked real good. Even though I could still tell he was animated, it was pretty convincing. Then you got some special effects that didn't look so convincing. Like during the final action scene, he was doing them Crash Bandicoot moves, dude. You guys know who Crash Bandicoot is, right? I really did like it, though. Let me walk you through. Here's a step-by-step guide of what I was thinking of the movie as it was happening. I'll give you my reactions, okay? The beginning of the movie was happening, and I was like, okay. Then some of that weird dialogue was happening, and then I was like, huh. Then the movie actually got going, and I was like, well, actually. Then the characters started to shine with their chemistry, and I was like, yes, more. Then the movie got surprisingly dark for a minute, and I was like, whoa, this is my kind of movie. Then action scenes happened, and the final part of the movie happened. Then it ended, and I was smiling like a gosh dang idiot. And I was like, yep, I think the movie won me over. I also really like the characters and their scenes together, especially Lois Lane and Superman. I found their chemistry to be really believable, thanks to, in no small part, the casting. You got here David Corn Sweat as Superman. The only other thing I saw him in was in that Twisters movie. He was good in that. I think he's a real good Superman. One thing I noticed was that he didn't have any sweaty shirtless scenes. And that's a problem. All these buff guy comic book superhero movies have that one sweaty shirtless scene. You know what I'm talking about. We didn't even get to see at least one of his nipples. Shame. Remember in Man of Steel when Henry Cavill was topless? Of course you do. Then you got Rachel Brosnahan as Lois Lane. I looked up her filmography and she's actually been in quite a bit of stuff. And I literally haven't seen any of it. So I wasn't really familiar with her before going into this movie, but I can say with confidence, I'm a Brosnahan fangirl now. She was great as Lois Lane. And her and David Corn Sweat really played off each other really well. Then you got my man, Nicholas Hoult, as Lex Luthor. This dude was stealing these scenes, bro. I loved him in this role. But I also love him in everything, but he brought this level of evil narcissism to Lex Luthor that I don't think I've ever seen before in other iterations of him. This dude despises Superman. And they really go all the way with that aspect of his character. Like, I can't think really of another movie that had a character that hated someone else to this same degree. Actually, that movie, I Saw the Devil, I think the characters were kind of on that level. Another one of my favorites in the movie was Mr. Terrific, played by Eddie Gathegi. I remember him from X-Men First Class. Remember that movie? Also, I noticed that Nicholas Hoult was in that movie too. Remember, he played the Blue Werewolf? I think this guy was a highlight too, and definitely got the most giggles out of me. And I've never heard of that character before, Mr. Terrific, but it seems like something that James Gunn is good at. Taking comic book characters that people like me haven't heard of and making them interesting and cool. Just like what he did with the Guardians of the Galaxy characters and the Suicide Squad movie. Well, actually, that whole team in the movie, the not Justice League. I really liked all those characters, actually. Of course, you got Nathan Fillion as Green Lantern. He's always showing up in James Gunn's movies. And I'm pretty sure he provided the voice for Green Lantern in some of the animated Justice League movies that came out like some time ago. Isabel Merced plays Hawk Girl, who was good. No, she was good, but there were some parts where she was kind of screeching like a bird. I wasn't really feeling that. There's a part where she's flying in and she's just like, yeah, I wasn't feeling that. But I did like what they did. I liked what they did with Jimmy Olsen and his character. They mixed it up a bit by making him a ladies' man. That was pretty fun. The action scenes were really well done too. Aside from some of that Tasmanian Devil shenanigans, remember I brought up Crash Bandicoot? I liked how Superman always had to juggle multiple problems while also fighting off the bad guys. Well, that kind of goes into spoilers, so like how he was fighting that kaiju monster and he was, struggling not only to keep people safe while fighting it, but also keeping property damage as minimal as possible. And the fact that he wanted to capture it alive makes it more interesting than just having a brawl-out fight where he doesn't have to worry about other things, you know? Also, when he was escaping the pocket universe and had to carry that baby while these bad guys are trying to kill him, and he's trying to rescue Crypto, and he's spiraling towards a black hole, all while the portal to get out of the pocket universe is closing. Just these problems that stack on one another that heighten the action, I think. Especially effective for someone like Superman, who's basically invincible. Although he does seem weaker in this movie compared to previous iterations. Also, there's that part where Lex Luthor captured Superman and has that mineral rock dude create kryptonite to weaken Superman. Then Lex Luthor brings out this civilian from that other country and has him tied up to a chair. And Lex Luthor has the gun pointed at him and is playing the Russian roulette. He just executes that guy right in front of Superman. And I was like, dang, that was actually pretty intense. It was genuinely surprising because of the general lighter tone of the movie up to that point. So when he's pointing the gun at the guy, you're just thinking, he's not gonna die. Then he just executes him. I actually like the music too. They seem to have kept the 1970s theme, which I'm okay with because it's a real good theme. I think it was Lex Luthor's theme. Sounded like it came from an old video game or something. I want to say like Donkey Kong 64. I still like the song, it just kind of threw me off for a bit. So I think that's pretty much all I got.